Welcome to the Plane of Ravnica. This is a video guide detailing the world and features of Ravnica for any Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition session where I will be acting as Game Master. Most of the general information is supplied by the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica and any other official sources pre-War of Spark. The video has been split into two sections, character information and player information. Each section has been time-stamped and condensed for efficient delivery of information necessary to understand the world and the game that it will present. Mind if I tell you you're off for a bit? Ravnica's a weird place. If you ask any academic, they'll run off about how far we've advanced thanks to the modern luxuries that span the forever expanding city. Then ask someone on the street, and they'll barely know anything beyond their own block. In the 10th district alone, you can fulfill any desire or nightmare your mind can conjure. Beautiful natural habitats, endless recreational options, academic opportunity, and a well of money around every corner. Until you end up lost in the sea of alleyways, get robbed trying to turn around, then pass out as a spirit interrupts you and your robber's exchange, only to wake up in your house with a friendly receipt from the Orzhou medics you traveled to pay off in the first place. Luckily, I'm mostly exaggerating. The city is mostly under control so long as the guild pact stays intact. Ravnica used to be in constant war until those armies stopped fighting to form that damned pact. At least until it broke during the Decamillennial celebration. Then was formed the Living Guild Pact, Jace Balerin. But who knows what alley that mage is dwelling in. With Jace gone, it's only a matter of time till the guilds return to their old habits. Let's do this in order. The Azorius Senate is a legislative body that manages Ravnica law. There are 3 courts write, enforce, and judge the laws of Ravnica and those under them. Unfortunately, they are as productive as they are inconvenient. They follow the law to a fault, sentencing people to die of old age before they decide what to convict you for. The Boris Legion is a Ravnica's zealous military force. If the Azorius aim to punish criminals, the Boros aim to protect the innocent. They have an extreme presence to retain justice for those wronged through militant means. As faultless as the angels who lead them, it's their decision on who they consider good and wronged. Another large military organization, the Selesnya Conclave, manages the natural world and attempts to harmonize it with the rest of Ravnica. They claim they are under the guidance of the world soul made Nat Selesnya, attempting to reunify the city. Unfortunately, any slight against them results in a legion of soldiers, and any animal in a 6-year-old's coloring book knocking on your doorstep. Might be a rough road to unification. Looking more extreme, the Golgari Swarm are the dark cousin of the Selesnya Conclave, attempting to unify nature and Ravnica due to decay. They mostly reside in the Undercity, repurposing waste and the dead into usable resources. Anytime they're on the surface, they're either helping the less fortunate or attempting to implement more natural growth in areas the Selesnya would refuse to maintain. Somehow, they aren't the worst of it. That award goes to the Gruul Clans, taking an even more extreme position of tearing down the city into a ruin and returning to the old ways. Historically speaking, they got the short end of the stick, stuck with maintaining nature in an ever-growing city. Morally speaking, the Rebel Belt is a constant war zone that tends to spread chaos into the innocents for their own desires. Most have lost any sympathy that they had for the clans. The Simic Combine have selected a more relatable position on nature, trying to improve upon it. However, they do this by manipulating their bodies deep in the zone that's connecting the surface to the ocean that may or may not exist deep underground. Their principles of hold fast and upwelling ensures that their services for the city are in good conscience, but it's hard to forget about whatever monster they're cooking up in their basements. At least the Izzet League are honest about their apathy for their experiments. Once they ran out of city to connect utilities and produce energy for, their scientists started testing what the world was capable of creating, regardless if it would hurt themselves, much less the city surrounding their labs. Chaotic and unguided. Hopefully next time they're in the papers is about a new coffee and not an explosion. Any normal person would consider what I've just said and try to drown out the mess in entertainment and recreation. The cult of Rakdos ensures you don't stray far from the chaos. All the performers, entertainers, and culinary employees have some connection to this guild that prioritize pleasure over personal safety, for themselves or for others. Avoid taking anyone home wearing horns or rocking the tattoo of a devil. Don't think it'll be much of a surprise to hear that both our banks and churches are just as unhinged as the rest of the city. Thanks to the Orzhou Syndicate, they managed to combine both into one convenient organization. Any money or spiritual problem you have can and most likely will be supported by the Orzhov. Make sure you can afford the contract you sign, though. I never heard of any of their contracts going unfulfilled. Finally, we arrive at House Dimir, who organizes communications within the city. From newspapers to libraries, the Dimir control the information throughout Ravnica. Last major connection they had was exposing themselves as people who broke the original guild pact. Now they're the neighborhood mailmen, ensuring they get their news stories to our doors. Rain or shine. Well, I hope I've painted a good picture for what Ravnica has in store for you. I haven't covered everything, but I've covered enough to where you shouldn't be surprised. The guilds are a part of life, but as long as neither you nor they get ideas, you should be able to move along without issue. There's lots to do in this wonderful world. Make sure you do it before someone else decides what you get to do. The story of Ravnica is one of high magic and technological development in the pursuit of urban development. However, the world is not without turmoil due to the constant conflict between the 10 guilds within the guild pact. Any session occurring within Ravnica will take place after the events of Jace Beleren's claim as living guild pact, but before the War of the Spark. This is done to place Ravnica in a neutral state. No one guild has a distinct plan nor advantage to the background behavior, and the other planeswalkers are occupied in their respective worlds. As such, I will not be using nor allowing planeswalker characters or plots within my sessions. However, Ravnica is a large and ancient place. It is not unlikely that extraplanar creatures lack equivalents within this world. Due to the restrictions on planeswalker, playable races have also been limited. Most common are humans, versatile and ambitious, elves consisting of Dvarkin, Selayan or High Elf descent, half-elves, and goblins. Infrequent but prominent are the Centaurs, Dryad, and Luxodon, most commonly found within the Selesnya. Minotaur and Vyeshno warriors from the Boros or Gruul, depending on their frame, merfolk and Simic hybrids emerging from the Simic labs or the Underdark. Rare races includes tieflings, descendants of Rakdos, and the insectoid crawl of the Golgari Swarm. Races tend to stay close to their home guilds, so if your interactions with Selesnya are frequent, you likely won't see merfolk or tieflings without explicit exploration. As stated, Ravnica is effectively endless, so it may result in very secluded racial communities outside of the 10th. Never set expectations, but be ready for surprises if they arise beyond the 10th. Everything beyond this point will no longer include Ravnica and will instead be exclusive to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rulings and additions. Starting with rule changes, standing up from prone costs 15 movement instead of half, but now procs opportunity attacks. Health potions may be consumed using a bonus action for the rolled amount or an action for the max amount. Additionally, the cantrip restriction has been lifted for bonus action spells. Any creature that recovers from 0 HP gains 1 level of exhaustion. The minimum damage modifier added due to ability scores is 0, meaning a negative strength modifier will not incur a negative damage modifier when rolling for damage. There is a major change happening to the rest system. Short rests have been reduced to 10 minutes. Long rests reduced to 6 hours. However, hit dice are consumed to restore HP and exhaustion is no longer removed. Full rests occur when the party rests in a safe and comfortable environment. This requires 7 days minus the number of days determined by their constitution modifier with a minimum of 0. Each day removes 1 level of exhaustion. At the end, all spells, HP, and hit dice are restored and you gain temp HP equal to 1 rolled hit die that lasts until consumed. This has been borrowed from the Dungeon Coach, and his video has been attached to the description. For rule additions, flanking has been implemented from the Dungeon Master's Guide, but instead of advantage, it will be a +2 to attack rolls. However, any creature that is involved in a flank becomes flanked themselves, and both flanking instances are cancelled. The cleave rules from the DMG have also been implemented. Any excessive damage resulting from a melee weapon attack will be distributed to a nearby creature within your range of your attack. Finally, all player characters begin the session with 1 inspiration that may be consumed or awarded to other characters. If you are interested in playing, there should be an announcements channel regarding Ravnica and a 7 that will enable you to notify me that you are interested in playing and would like to participate in my next session and presentation.